It's September 12th, 2022. This is Roqe. Hi there, welcome to episode 199 of Roqe. I'm Jian Ghomeshi, nice to be talking to you. Hope you're keeping well wherever you're tuning in from around the world. Hello to you from Toronto, Canada. Salam Dustan Aziz. Durud ba shoma. Salam Dust Aziz. Groovy Shaya, how are you?
I'm good.
The singular Behzad Bolour. The very unique Behzad Bolour joining us in the Roqe Studio today. In the studio, one of the most, well, I said the word, unique humans in Persian broadcasting, or any broadcasting, anywhere. He, of course, of BBC Persian fame and an artist, a fashion designer, a former radio guy, now a TV guy. Mm-hmm. It's always interesting having Behzad anywhere, including on our show. Yes. I suspect today will be no different. You know, he and I famously have, in my mind, have very different interview techniques, and his approach tends to be to do things quite naturally, to not necessarily prepare as much or do the research, and certainly to not know where you're going to go with questions and stuff. That's the opposite of the way I've operated for many years. So I'm going to tell him this during the interview, but I'm going into this interview with little planned.
I see.
Just see where it goes.
So you want to do his method?
I'm doing the Behzad spontaneous method. Okay. I'm also comforted by the fact that he's a great broadcaster, so he always makes it interesting one way or another. So we'll see. But Behzad Bolour in the Roqe Studio coming up, and in about 45 minutes from now. After that, Shadi Majlessy will be here in the studio. She's capturing attention for images of Persian culture, historical figures, and Iranian history that she creates and showcases on her cakes. She's a talented and popular baker, so she makes these cakes, and there's images of, Reza Shah on them, and then you eat the cake. I know, it's very cool stuff. Shadi Majlessy coming up in the Roqe Studio. I'm looking forward to it. There's by the way, can you hear that?
Yes.
You can?
I can
okay. I wasn't sure if you can hear. We've built this Roqe Studio, but we're next to an office space or something that they're renovating.
Yes.
And I think they've got some machine.
Yes, it's like a
paint machine or something? What are they?
I think so, but it sounds like a white noise.
Oh, so we could have just said it's what? Anyway, I can hear. I don't know if you guys who are listening to it, can hear it wherever you're listening to us.
I hope by the time Behzad comes to the studio, they will finish.
Hopefully, yeah. Well, there is a fair amount of white noise in Toronto right now. There's a buzz. Because it's the Toronto International Film Festival, TIFF, we call it. And I guess it's the return of TIFF after the COVID, the first time the festival has been in person in a big way again, where big crowds and everything. Have you gone to any films?
No, not yet. No.
Well, it's I guess it started last Thursday. It's going to go for about a week and a half. It's one of the biggest film festivals in the world. And in terms of Iranian content, yesterday was the premiere of 752 is Not a Number. This is Babak Payami's documentary about the horrific shooting down of Flight 752 by the Iranian government that killed 176 people on board, many of them Iranian Canadians.
Yes.
And about the fight for justice for the families of the victims since then. So this had its premiere yesterday at TIFF, at the Toronto International Film Festival. I was not there, but I hope it went. I assume it went well. And Babak Payami, of course, who's been on our program a few times, and this is clearly a work of great passion on his part. Who's and an important work, I'm sure, that will have a broad release before too long. So that part of the Toronto International Film Festival schedule.
Yeah, and I mean, it's obvious that it must be a very sad movie. Yeah.
I saw Afshin Naqmani on the great artist. I was in London.
Yes,
the last few
actually,
days.
yeah.
I was thinking about, and Afshin said something interesting. I was asking him if he'd seen a certain movie, and I said, yeah, it's kind of a sad movie. He said, I don't see sad movies. Not interested. I don't want to go to watch a sad movie. I always think artists, you know, a visual artist who spends weeks and years creating something on a canvas is the type of person who wants to wants to go to a movie and cry, you know. But he was like having no part of it. He was like, no, I don't want to go see this. There's a movie called The Worst Person in the World. It's by a Norwegian director that has had its wide release over the last year. It's a brilliant movie.
I've watched it.
Yeah. But it's hard. I mean, it's devastating, right? It's brilliant film, right? But he was like, no interest. I don't want to go see something sad. It's too difficult.
I try to avoid watching sad movies like in these days of my life because I think
it's hard to recover.
Yes.
I need it sometimes. It's like listening to a sad song and crying, and it's part of the process. But I get it. I get that it can become too much. So I was in London. And what timing? Yes. Well, it's interesting. I mean, I was in London for the weekend. This is in the UK. For Canadians, people listening around the world wonder why I say the UK. We do have a London, Ontario, Canada. So sometimes if you're in Toronto and it's about 2 hours from here, you say, I'm going to London. Somebody thinks you're, going to the Forest City, couple of hours from here. But in fact, I'm talking about London, England, the place of my birth. And I was going for a business meeting that I had on Saturday. And I had booked the trip. So I did not book it around the unfortunate death of a monarch, but as it turns out, in fact, I was leaving on Thursday. My flight was at midnight on Thursday night, and it was on Thursday that the news broke. So I thought, I'm traveling into the city and the country that's dealing with this, grappling with this major news, right? So it was kind of a big deal. I mean, I went to the meeting that I had, but I was there, and while I was there, I decided to, as folks who see me on Instagram or whatever will see, I decided to visit Buckingham Palace and be part of the historical moment, and
it is a historical moment.
Boy, is it ever! Is it ever? It really is. I mean. Because of the rituals and the succession and all of that underscore how much of a historic moment it is, right? I think, I was thinking about the death of the Queen affected me. No, I don't know her. I mean, I don't know on a personal level. I met her once. Back in 2002, she had come to Toronto and she was touring through the CBC, the Broadcast Center, and I was just like one of the people standing there, when they walk by, like that kind of thing. So it wasn't like we had tea or something, but I count that as meeting her, Of course, saw her in the flesh in front of me. And then a few years ago, I was honored to receive this the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal, so that was very nice, and so I have these kind of attachments to the, there's been an effect in my life, but for me I was born in London, and probably one of the first songs I ever learned was God Save the Queen. These are just things that happen when you live in England. You know the Queen, and then we came to Canada, and the Queen is on our money here, and we're one of the colonies, and so I think for me there's a bit of that attachment there. But I was thinking of beyond that. 3 reasons why people, from my perspective, people feel are moved by this moment, because
you're a monarchy fan, right? Like
No, it's so funny they should say that, because
based on your post, I thought that I didn't know that you are a monarchy.
I know he's such a monarchist that he got on a plane right away and went to Buckingham Palace. No, I know. In fact, a couple of people said that on my social media, like on my Facebook or something. Somebody wrote, "Geez, I never knew you were this much of a monarchist." You Pasha after your first opportunity, you hopped on a plane, right? I honestly think for those who are really monarchists, I would not dignify the word. I don't represent, when it comes to the British royal family, I mean, I don't have any of the plates at home with Charles and Di on them, or I'm just not if anything, over the course of my life, I would probably have been much more critical of the monarchy than positive about it. And yet, I did feel profoundly sad. I mean, this is the paradox of emotions. This is what I find very interesting in a lot of us, because I'm hearing this from others too, that didn't really care that much for the institution, but moved by the passing of this person. And I think for me, there's three things. One, and this point has been made, but I really think this is true, that in a moment, especially in the last 20 years, based on technology and social media, etc., in a moment when the acceleration of our culture feels so profound, things are changing so quickly, right? And the things, the life we expected or knew continues to rapidly revolutionize every year. Somebody who represented a constant, who represented some kind of stability. There she is. We've known she basically even looked the same for the last 50 years, right? Like, it was, good on her. But it's such a constant that she didn't change, right? So I think that is something that is going to affect us, because it is a reminder of our own mortality. It's a reminder of everything changes. Nothing stays. The only constant in life is change, right? So there's that. I think secondly, for me, but I think for a lot of people, regardless of your position on the monarchy, this person represented a certain level of dignity. I might even say old school dignity with which she carried herself over the course of her life, which to a certain extent feels like an anachronism. Like, people are not like her. And I'm sorry, anyone who has spent a moment, let alone an hour, a week, a year, a lifetime in the public eye, how this person spent the last 70 years as queen, and notwithstanding some gossip or some speculation about how she felt about Diana or Meghan Markle, about whatever, has never been caught saying something inappropriate on camera, has never been caught, looking inappropriate, has basically carried herself slavishly, in her position as wanting to do right by this monarchy. That's quite remarkable.
Yes, it's hard to be queen, It's really like for 70
We
years.
learned that from The Crown, right?
I did.
You didn't watch The Crown?
No.
Oh, I thought we talked about it.
No.
Yeah. Well, when you watch it, you go, there's a lot of pressure on these people.
No, really, but it's hard to be queen. Like, as you said, for 70 years, she has to be conscious about every single move,
every moment of the day,
every moment,
for the entire life.
Yes,
and you see this. I mean, if you've read about her, she's kind of an outlier too. There's nobody else in the royals that has been almost tediously perfect the way she has been. Right? It's quite a story. This person. So, and the third thing, I think, when I mentioned The Crown, I think for me the third reason why this has such an impact is that in this era of media and maybe sensationalism, we see these people, the British royals. I mean, has there been anyone who's been picked over more than, whether it's TV series or criticism or lampooning them or puppet characters or devotion or, BBC, whatever it is, these people, I mean, we talk about reality TV and reality stories. I mean, these are people that we feel like we know, right? Yes. And so I think that adds another layer to it too, where it's
You're
like
going to miss.
I feel like I knew this person. I don't know anything about them, but you think you do. So it's a measure of loss.
How was the Buckingham Palace? Actually, I'm really curious to know. I mean, how was the atmosphere?
Yeah, it was first of all, no surprise, there was thousands of people there. So you get, if you take the tube as I did to St. James Park Station or Victoria, and you get out and you walk, you start to see there's people, there's people carrying flowers, and they're headed towards Buckingham Palace. I mean, it's really interesting to me. There were if you see, I posted a couple of pictures or a video, but there's just endless amounts of flowers that people have gone and bought. And I mean, I know this is not a surprise. Any public figures die, and we see this. But think about that. I saw this couple carrying like a bunch of flowers that they had bought, like 2 or 3 bundles. And I thought, oh, these people have gone out and said, we have to go and buy flowers before we go to Buckingham Palace. Man kid dast khali ba I didn't bring any.
Were people crying?
Well, what I was going to say is, so there's thousands of people there. It was quite a scene. I've been to some major funerals before. I felt like this one was somewhat different, maybe because of her advanced age. I don't know. But I felt like it certainly wasn't a celebration. It wasn't like there was music pumping and everybody feeling, But also it didn't feel like a major mourning scenario either. I suspect maybe at the funeral or something it will. But this felt, in other words, I didn't pass a lot of people who were collapsed on the ground weeping, This felt like something more in between, where people clearly really wanted to be there. You had to, the devotion just to go there, you have to kind of stand to get close to Buckingham Palace. They had put up some fencing and stuff, so you have to stand, you walk in a slow queue in a line, even just to get into the area where thousands are, right? I mean, it's not something you can just run there for 5 minutes and leave, So I felt a sense that people wanted to just collectively share something, and be there around each other. And I ended up choosing to speak to a bunch of people who were just around me, and we had really good conversations, really interesting conversations. Yeah.
Is there any Persian there, Iran?
I did see. I heard some Farsi a few times, but not really. But what I will say is, Shai, it was a very diverse crowd.
Wow.
I've seen some stuff in social media attacking, privileged white people, this type of thing. Really interesting being there and seeing the crowd, because, it is London after all, an international, the most international city. Maybe we sometimes say that about Toronto, but of course London is much bigger. But I probably heard 100 different languages.
Wow.
I spoke to a number of different. I spoke to a Pakistani guy. I spoke to a couple who'd come from America. A lot of different Europeans. There were a couple of Brazilian people who live in London but came and speaking with heavy accents but devoted to the Queen. It was really a really diverse place, really diverse looking crowd. So that was interesting, and I guess in London in general, in England in general, I would say the vibe was pretty interesting this weekend. It was a bit of a paradox, really, because on the one hand, you couldn't escape the fact that something. You get off the plane at Heathrow, all the, with the billboards where there's normally advertisements, those are all black, and they say Her Majesty, the passing of Her Majesty. Yeah, and that's the case throughout the city. There's just images of her everywhere, and rest in peace or whatever. So you can't escape that. At the same time, there's a feeling of business as usual. People obviously, people are going about their lives and going out to dinner and whatever. There's some of this that becomes very English that would be very normal if you live in England, but for me it kind of moved me to see, for example, outside of a pub, somebody, the pub owners had put out a chalkboard and said, "Ma'am, we thank you, we miss you," that type of thing. That feels very English.
Actually, I was going to say, because so the Queen is also she was the head of Canadian stuff. So I was wondering that if pubs or bars are closed for Her Majesty or no, and then I googled it, and interestingly it said that bars are open to go there and have a shot in memory of.
Well, it's so funny that you should say that, because Roham, Savvy Roham, part of our team here, on Thursday, when the news broke, you know, he was saying, I need to go to the bank tomorrow. Are the banks going to be closed, you know, in Toronto here? And I was like, Jesus, Roham, don't bring this Irani mentality, like you think that because a monarch dies that everything's going to close. I was making fun of him, you know. Yeah. Then I go to England, and I mean, the football games are I mean, they've shut down a lot, right?
Wow.
There's no Premier League football this weekend, right? Which, I don't know. I don't quite get that. Like, I don't totally understand I would be more in the camp of, like, let them play the game, wear armbands, put up a big video of her, you know, show the respects. Yes. I don't know, you know. Yeah. So this kind of, the fact that so many things were also, I mean, there's people's jobs, you know, rely on this, and there's people who come in around the world to see games or whatever. I mean, you know, so it's kind of a displacing, but yeah, there was actually a bunch of, I mean, Selfridges was closed at one of the big shopping stores. There were a lot of things, but the pubs were open.
Yes.
The drinking shall continue. In the name of the monarch, we shall drink. Yeah.
What happened to the anthem? Like, it's.
Well, you heard it. Don't you find that strange? The anthem becomes "God Save the King."
Oh, that's it.
God save our king. You know. Oh, what is it? God save our noble king. I think I should know.
No, I didn't
since
know
I sang it when I was a kid. The anthem stays the same, but you replace queen with king. Feels a bit cheap, doesn't it? It's like, you know, fucking write something new. And also, it's like, I feel like because she's been around our whole lives as the queen, I feel like it's like her song. Now it's Charles's song. I mean, you know, it just doesn't feel. And I would write a different melody for him, I should think, you know. But I found it weird. God Save the King. But that's part of the succession thing. Like, part of the succession is to, I guess we're learning, is to keep things as much as possible the same, keep the order, right? Yes. So you don't even change the song.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, maybe a different rhythm, like add some xylophone or yeah. So anyway, rest in peace. It was an interesting weekend in London, and an interesting time to be there. I guess it will continue. I'm someone who maybe it's the journalist, or, you know, I don't know what it is in me, but I really like to be there to witness these things, you know, to witness history.
I'm sure if I was in London, I would go there definitely to see. Yeah, it's a history, you know.
Some of my friends in London were like, "Well, you're gonna go to Buckingham Palace for what? What are you gonna go there for?" And I was like, "Well, because it's you know, I mean, I guess it's kind of like when people come to Toronto and go to the CN Tower, and you're kind of like, well, why are you going there? You know?" But I mean, I thought this was
it's different,
and clearly there are, you know, millions who are doing that, because it was certainly busy there that night. Interesting days, an interesting trip to England. All right. We are coming to you on roqemedia.com. It's there that you can link to all of our platforms. We're on our ongoing mission to build a new audiovisual encyclopedia of Iranian diaspora identity. You can find us on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, CastBox. If you want to see visuals with Roqe, switch over to YouTube right now. And it is at YouTube that you can see our first of our travel series, our documentary, Talking to Persians, London, as it turns out. At YouTube, go to Roqe Media, the Roqe Media YouTube page. And if you like your Roqe descriptions and bulletins in both English and Persian, check us out on Telegram. To become a supporter of our program, you can go to our website, roqemedia.com, and press the Support Us button, and we really, really appreciate it. All right, we ready?
Yes.
To bring our first guest in. Let's do it. Let's bring him in. My first featured guest today is an award-winning artist, fashion designer, humanitarian, radio personality, TV presenter, senior producer with more than huh? There's how many? Do I need to say all of these things
with extensions on his head?
With more than 30 years of experience producing, programming, hosting shows at BBC Persian, Behzad Bolour is an Iranian-British broadcaster and a familiar face for many Iranians inside and outside of Iran. If you're a fan of Persian popular culture and Iranian music, you will have seen his shows like Kuk, Bulur Banafsh, and Nuno Namak. Behzad was born and raised in Tehran. The revolution of 79 led him to leave Iran at the age of 18. He made London his home, took an interest in fashion, interior design, paintings, recorded a Persian classical album in 1990, then found his way to BBC Persian Radio in the same year, where he remained for 3 decades. Behzad has made it his mission to promote Iranian artists and underground music. You might say he's become the voice and face for millions of young Iranians over the years, and he's also dedicated much of his documentary work to the restoration of the Persian culture, language, arts, and history.
Thank you.
And right now, Behzad Bolour joins me in the Roqe Studio.
Wow.
Hello, sir.
Thank you so much. I don't want to talk because I think
that would be like one of your interviews. If I just talk the whole time.
Yeah, you just know you paint
and don't ask questions.
Yeah, you paint a fantastic picture. I don't want to ruin it.
It's so nice to have you here, not on a Zoom, but actually in person in Canada. Welcome.
You're absolutely right. Actually, I just remember that we talked over the Zoom.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't wearing a trousers, I think.
Oh.
So that was a comfort.
You're welcome to not wear trousers.
Yeah, not wearing underwear. No, just joking. I'm wearing. But it's fantastic to be here. Actually, it feels really good. I love your office, or let's say your media, your rooms. The people who work with you are fantastic. You got documentary makers. You got fantastic dancers. Someone who came from Mashhad.
Super P.
Because
Super P came from Mashhad a year ago.
Also very beautiful, and to come here to work, I mean, amazing. Well done. You're truly a media magnet.
What?
I'm a media maggot.
No, I didn't want to say that. Step up to the microphone, by the way. This is a microphone. I don't know if you've used these before.
Yes.
If you just get close to it.
We sort of got rid of them about 20 years ago.
I know BBC Persian doesn't. The budgets are limited at this stage. I have to say from the outset, first of all, honestly, it's great to see you.
Me too.
We have such a guy. I saw you in London last year, and we had some fun. But to have you here in Canada in the studio, I have to say, however, we don't have a plan for this interview, and I did not. جلوی خودم گرفتم که normally I would be very stressed and frustrated at the idea of not having a plan, because I fastidiously like to prepare for interviews. I like to know exactly where I want the question arc to go. I like to have a focus. That's just my mode, my model.
I'm completely opposite.
You really are. And I saw you a couple of days ago, you know, and I said to you, okay, I want to have a focus for the interview. I want to know where we're going to go with this. Because I'm of the mentality that if we're going to do this for any period of time that's longer than 5 minutes or something, we owe it to the audience to develop content that's going to be rich. So they've got some takeaways. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose in that model, but at least you try. You bring a lot of. And you said, "Come on, man, come on, let's just we'll get together, we'll do this thing," which I know is actually some people actually really appreciate that approach.
Yes, but
let's see what happens.
I envy you, because that was how I learned journalism. You have to have a plan. You do a research. Of course, I mean, we do kind of research, I do. And then you plan it, you set it up, and you do it properly. And I gave that up about 12 years ago, but I do envy it. It's a mixture of being lazy at the same time being very confident, because I know the story is there. And that is... So if I plan something many times, I'm sure it has happened to you. You plan something, you know all the questions, but suddenly... it turns a different turn. Yeah, of course. I mean,
but here's the trick, I think. I mean, I'm not gonna. I won't debate you on it. You've got your stuff. Sure. But I think the trick is you have the script, you have the idea, you have the arc, you have the plan, then you throw it away.
Yes.
Yeah, and in Canada we say you follow the puck. In hockey, wherever you can't control always where the puck goes. So the puck goes. So if I have a plan to talk to Behzad Bolour about food, and Behzad starts telling me something about his personal life that I never thought he was going to talk about, then of course I'm going to follow the puck and go there.
And also,
but to have an idea of where you're going to go, otherwise, and the thing is, you are skilled enough. The thing that the way you can pull it off is that you're an orator. Yes. You're very fast and you're good with words. One of the things that I don't like about the podcast medium is it's given oxygen to a bunch of folks who think all you have to do is turn on the microphones and talk, and then it'll be interesting.
Yes.
And the truth of the matter is, it's not that fucking interesting.
Yes.
You know, that's why there's a gazillion podcasts and not very many people listen to them.
But some of them have millions of viewers or something.
Only when the person is a genuinely interesting and inquisitive person.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much Joe Rogan prepares, but he has an inquisitive mind. He can take it in certain places, but he has a talent for that.
Yes.
You can't just turn the microphones on, and you have a talent for that.
I hope
but
so.
I still think
you have to cut this interview and make it 2 minutes. Because
well, that's a BBC thing.
But
let me ask you this.
Yes. Why are you here when you're going to leave?
Let me ask you this. When you interview the real icons, and certainly outside of the Iranian, you know, when you include the world.
Yes.
Let's say you were going to interview Zelensky. Let's say you were going to interview Paul McCartney.
Yes.
You know that the handlers, the publicists, the people around them,
they want to know everything.
Well, not only that, but they're going to give you. It's going to be very difficult. They're going to say, okay, you got 10 minutes with Paul McCartney.
Yes.
If you have 10 minutes with Paul McCartney, do you still not plan?
No, definitely will plan.
Okay, in that case you plan.
Leave the nasty question to the end, of course. That's a trick. Because if you ask in right at the beginning, they're going to leave, so you're going to have no interview. Yeah, no, we have to plan.
Because you've only got the 10 minutes.
Yes.
You don't want to mess up the 10 minutes talking about bullshit, right?
Yeah, so that's why it is always good and correct. And all the students in journalism, please listen to Jian, don't listen to me.
See, but you make me sound like I'm some sort of, you know, fuddy-duddy. I'm some sort of like a stick in the mud.
No, you're the master.
Then nobody's having any fun. But I just think, my mantra is, I had this debate with Larry King. Larry King was like you.
All right.
Yeah. No, he said...
Thank you for the comparison.
Well, I mean, some people loved Larry King. I mean, he was a huge star. But Larry King's idea was, I want to talk to people as if I've just met them on the street.
Yes.
So even when he was on CNN, he just say, he just kind of come up with the questions, right? And I debated him on this because I said, I think you could, even Larry King, sir, you can do a better interview if you've done the research, read the books, whatever,
absolutely.
and then be the guy who's asking whatever question. Sure. But I don't know.
So when we have a baby, I think that baby is going to be really good in this. Yeah, me and you. So it's the planning of you and sort of the surprise from my side together.
Do you think we can have it? I mean,
nowadays you can.
I know we can. But
you have to donate.
Are we too long in the tooth? You know what that means? Are we too old?
My English is not that good.
I mean, should we be 20-year-olds if we're going to have a baby?
No. We can give donate our sperm to a womb.
I see.
And I think,
so we're not necessarily going to raise the baby. Huh? We're not going to raise the baby.
No. We're going to
mix our sperm.
Yes, and then mix it and have a baby.
Who's going to have the perfect amount of time when they ask questions in interviews?
Yes, all that. But that's quite a nasty idea.
Quite peachy there.
That was a horror film. So,
but there'll be a lot of facial hair on this baby,
and shoulder hair from my side. That's the first case.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I want to say something about
that's a horrible image. You really have the hair all over the body?
Unfortunately,
yes, because I'm Iranian.
Yeah, it is Iranian, and it's quite painful to get rid of it. And after a while, I said let's have it because it makes it much more softer and comfortable with the fabric. Because the shirt you're wearing, if you have a shoulder hair, it's much softer and nicer on your body. Wow. So that's definitely the case.
This is what happens when you don't have a plan for the interview.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know what the English word for hairy is?
No.
Lots of hair?
Shaggy.
Well, that's a word, yes.
Yeah.
But hirsute.
Hirsute. Oh, yeah, you're wearing a hirsute, of course.
Well, no, that's funny. That's like no, but it's HIR hirsute. So you're a hirsute man.
Yes. Unfortunately,
I am blessed that I don't have all of that.
Yeah, you're much nicer human, Homo sapien. I'm Homo erectus.
I don't think I'm nicer. You're Homo erectus.
I'm Homo erectus. You're Homo sapien.
Tell me, in between the shoulder hair, I got distracted. Yes. What are you doing here? Why are you in Canada?
I came here to your city.
Yes, with all your hair.
With all my hair and all my extensions on the hair because I look different.
Do you actually have extensions?
Yeah, I do have.
So that's not your...
That's not... It's from a Romanian
under the cap,
woman.
you put some extensions.
Yeah.
That's very popular amongst 15-year-old girls.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And it's about 100 extensions, and it's from a 40-year-old, maybe Romanian, because really nice hair. And I look better now.
A 40-year-old Romanian.
Yeah, that's what I guess.
What's the relevance of the
color,
ethnicity? I see.
The silkiness.
Is that are people in the market for Romanian hair?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just, you know, that's what they told me. That's why they said it 20% more expensive than before, and that's why they sold.
What was it? What was the last? Where were the last extensions from? That they were cheaper, or did you have any? Have you ever had extensions before?
Cheaper is actually, funny enough.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't say, but it's from a continent. They say it's not good. It's cheaper, and. To my surprise, they have much nicer hair, but they say it's not good for extension. Okay. Which I shall not say.
You don't want to say which continent.
Because they're going to have a hashtag Behzad said it. Right, no. We don't want any more
But
hashtags.
we do know that the Romanians have great hair.
Yeah, and Iranians. Also, I went to a...
You couldn't get Iranian extensions?
No, they don't sell them that much. Yeah, they want to keep it to themselves. So, and they don't shed as much, I guess.
And it's a beautiful, you're right, it's a beautiful kind
nice
of
color. Actually, I realized
light
that
brown.
Our color hair is similar. So you're dyeing your hair, I realized.
Well, I'm trying to go for a Romanian look.
Yeah. You certainly have it. So I came to this country.
You know how long I've been putting color in my hair?
Huh?
Since I was like 18.
Oh, really? Wow.
I don't even know the actual color because it was all kinds of different colors. All the years I was in the band, it was like blonde and orange. And,
oh, wow.
You know, and then I started doing it different. When I was on TV, they would say if you put different colors, if it's just black, you know, it looks like a helmet.
Exactly. That's
so they have to put different. Then I started putting different browns in. I never stopped. So I didn't even know what my color is really.
Sure. I'm sure it's white now. So
there's definitely some of that. But why did you go for the light brown?
It looks better on the camera. That's exactly why. And it's also with my black beard. It reminds me of Andy Warhol.
Oh,
he had this, you know, the contrast, and you know it's fake. And I like people to know I'm kind of a fake hair on my head, and that's I like that because I want to be humble. I want people to know exactly.
Well, then why don't you take the cap off then?
No, that's too much.
That's
too honest. I don't want that. That's horror movie. Yeah, that's
you want to be honest about being fake, but not that honest about.
Maybe you should cut that part of the interview out because now
I'm sure people wonder why they never see you.
Because I'm bald on top, like Nasseruddin Shah was bald. Yeah,
well that's
Fat Ali Shah was bald.
And Reza Shah.
Yeah, and I hope Che Guevara was bald, but he wasn't.
Whoa.
Che Guevara.
But isn't that a great lineage? There's a lot of fabulous men with beautiful Patrick Stewart, you know, The Rock.
But
I mean, you could be in that tradition.
I have big Iranian nose and big ears, and because of that, you need a different kind of a shape to your head. And by being bald, you lose the top part, and the proportion goes wrong.
You spend no shortage of time thinking about this.
Yes, all day, every day.
Right.
It takes me half an hour.
So the Romanian extensions you look fabulous. Anyway. I got to say, you look
Let's
great.
go back to Toronto.
Yes, why did you come?
You don't have much time because Shaya has to go to a concert, which is fantastic.
Don't make this about Shaya. I think he's,
Shaya's on. I came to Toronto because I came here about 18 years ago, and we were the first serious kind of Iranian journalists to come and discover the city. And I came with Mehdi Jami in that case. And in here, we had people who joined us. I remember the first name of Yasaman. I can't remember her family name. And another fantastic photographer. So we discovered Toronto. It was amazing. I realized that Toronto is full of Iranians who are somebody.
Oh.
Because the way that the country lets Iranians in really filters everybody. It takes years to get into this country from Iran. You must be either rich or you must be somewhere very special. And I came in, I was surprised they still have like Ghorme Sabzi and all that, and people are sticking to the culture and maybe not moving on that much. So after those years, I came back to see how the city has changed. And I realized
it's changed a lot.
It's changed a lot. The Iranian community is much stronger.
And huge.
And
I mean, just in those 18 years, yes, there was a community here.
Sure.
But I don't know if you've had the chance to see it the last few days you've been here, but it has skyrocketed.
Yes,
I mean, everywhere you go now.
In Los Angeles, you know, I went and they said that Iranians have taken over the city. And you go to Westwood, there's only like 10 shops with Iranian names. And I went to a Korean town in Los Angeles, and I was going for miles. And it was all Korean.
Yes.
I mean,
but Toronto's like that now.
Toronto is like that. So Iranian community is very strong and it's very interesting. Because very interesting people who have reached so high in their sort of profession. And I like to discover that. I like to see how the music is in this city. Because when I came here last time, Shadmehr Aqli was here. And Gugush kind of was around. And so it's different now. And I want to discover that. And also draw an interesting picture, a variety of Iranians who are like someone like you. who is a very unique and different identity.
Yes.
Because you've created that identity, which is Iranian Canadian.
Yes.
I remember Kamran Human said we are Canadians. Everybody hated them, but like you have that Iranian.
You were disappointed that they didn't say they were Iranian.
No. Actually, I had no problem with that because they are really. If it's a media can say it's Canadian, what's the problem?
Right.
And you're Iranian for Iranians. It's I don't know. I'm weird on that one. Although I'm such a nationalist, you know that I'm really believe in Iran and do everything.
You don't call yourself a British Iranian. You just say you're Iranian.
No. In every British person asks me who I am, where I'm from, I always say I'm Iranian. And I should really say I'm British Iranian. No, you made me think. Actually, that's not. That's rude.
Why wouldn't you say that?
Because no, I should say it. I realize because from the age of 18 for 39 years I've been there, so I really
vast
owe
majority
a lot
of your life
to them.
And you clearly like it enough to stay.
Yeah.
You could live in San Diego, but you stay in London, right?
It's amazing to be part of that society, but somehow I'm still connected to my home country, and I'm dedicated to that.
I mean, it's your life work, right?
Yeah. But I should say British Iranian if I'm being interviewed. And be hated by Iranians after that. So, and
why do you think that?
Because we have such.
I happily say I'm
because we
Iranian,
live in
Canadian.
the other we live outside Iran. We know how it is, and we are more honest and more fair. But being inside Iran, you think as if you sold your country, because throughout the history, the other identities have been so smashed. Or it's been so. How can I say?
Dominant?
No. زشت جلوه داده شده. Like their spies are like that,
right,
or those who sold their countries like that. So it's not very nice for the people inside. But for us, it's completely natural. So I came here to see that.
But you don't think that Iranians inside Iran that watch you begrudge you leaving Iran? You don't think that they have a problem that you left Iran, do you?
Sometimes they could be jealous because you have such a nice life, we don't. But because I'm so dedicated to Iranian culture, they hopefully don't feel that. At least they don't tell me that.
I want to come back to Toronto and what you've discovered in Canada. But just on this point, it's very interesting to me. I actually, when I was partly being facetious about no plan for this interview, I love talking to you because you have such experience. And you do observe little things that I think very few people. You are a journalist, and so you kind of see things that, and you've thought about them and talked about them for years. So one of them is this idea about Iranians inside of Iran, something that a few people have talked to me about recently, very recently, that I want to get your idea on, which is that I know some talented Iranians.
Yes.
Who feel in the West, outside of Iran, who feel concerned, like somebody who does something amazing, has a great success, or has won a medal or something like that, who have some concerns about putting that in their social media because they get attacked because they say, how can you possibly be celebrating this and be so happy and have such a good life when there's people having such a difficult life?
I tell you where that comes from.
In Iran. Tell me how you feel about that.
During the Iran-Iraq war, the way the suppression worked in Iran was this comparison, that we are dying in the front line and you're doing this.
Right.
Because the government wanted to impose the Islamic idea. So I remember wearing a short sleeve was, why are you doing that? What are we doing there? So that idea, which is quite a wrong comparison. Because I remember Marilyn Monroe went to front line, in Vietnam and sang with a sexy clothes. So everybody wants to have fun. Everybody wants to be happy. And you cannot make this unusual cutting, slashing, putting things together, which is a very unfair comparison, because there was unfairness was part of the ruling government. That unfairness showed itself, so people got used to it, because you can always chezundan, you can always destroy someone by making this comparison. So to me, when they say that, I say that's the most stupid thing, because it's like when you're when you're eating something, suddenly compare your asshole to your mouth. That it is there. It's doing a different function. It's doing a different function. Every part does a different function. So my part in society is, no matter how many people are dying, I still do celebrate Iranian culture. And I do still do...
Or accomplishments.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, first of all, the whole idea is, obviously I get where it comes from. It can be, it doesn't even have to be just Iranian.
Yes.
When somebody who has material wealth, for example, flouts their, look at my fancy shoes that you could never buy, there is a bit of an Iranian thing that is
that has been imposed.
I don't get why.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't get why people have to post pictures of their fancy cars.
Because the rulers pushed that into the society. They injected that this is a correct way of thinking, which is quite a bad way.
Well, I get, but it's untenable to think that, I'm really enjoying this wonderful meal that my husband made, and I want to take a picture of it, but I better not in case somebody in Shiraz gets upset because they don't have as nice a meal. I mean, come on, we can't. That's not.
Yeah.
I think really the reason live that
is
way,
that
right?
societies. When you go to Sweden, the culture is very unified. You see a taxi driver to the, I don't know, prime minister, they have very similar cultures. In the societies with the dictatorship and years of neglect, you see the culture is being, there's so many layers and they're not talking to each other. And there is no unified. You get extremes.
Yeah.
And that is because the country has failed.
Yeah.
And we are living with that because our governments for years and years tried to do something. They either didn't know how to do it, or they got wasted, or they just had a completely wrong idea, or trying to push people to think the way they want to see. Because of that, is a neglected society feels that way. But we need more culture.
But the flip side of it is, I mean, the flip side of it would be, when there's when something bad happens in the West, there's a school shooting in America.
Yes.
Or, I mean, an extreme example, but a very notable one would be 9/11. And when 9/11 happened, that horrible, the planes hit the World Trade Center, September 11th in 2001, there was a conversation that happened even in the United States for a few days after that about, is it possible to make jokes anymore? There was Jon Stewart came out, a few people came out and said, I can't even do my monologue tonight. It's too difficult. This is not a time when we can express any sort of content. And then they were talking, is this the death of satire? We're never going to be able to joke about anything anymore, because it was such a horrible event that it felt like a disservice to the victims to be joking around or high-fiving or having a great meal or whatever. Sure. That, of course, faded after a few weeks, and people went back to their normal lives, and there's a memorial there. I feel like for some Iranians, understandably, depending on what's happened to them, that is every day.
Yes,
that is every day.
There's
and
still
so
a war.
when Kambiz Hosseini was on the show a couple of years ago or last year, he said something quite provocative, where he said, "I think people, it's irresponsible for Iranians to be happy." Which, I mean,
he was joking. Yeah.
No,
oh, it was serious.
No, he on some level, I mean, he defended it.
I think it tells you something.
But the idea of like 100 million Iranians running around the world are not, and in Iran are not allowed to ever be happy.
Yeah, I have an answer to that.
Yes,
because we have lost our roots. That's why I think that our roots gives very clear guidelines to all these confusions we have about our daily life. Darius III. Darius the first one. When he was the ruler of Egypt, the pharaoh, there's a cuneiform remained from him, which I can give you just a simplified version.
Sure.
Is God created skies, the earth, and happiness for people. Our root of Iranian society is about happiness. Okay, and we have so many examples that we lived by celebrations, and that was the root of our society. But after it's done, things changed dramatically, and we still are with this tazad, this contradiction we live, and it shows itself in different ways. Don't show our food to these people. Other people are not happy with it,
dance on
as
video,
if we are caring for them. But it's more about fear, about this part of society fearing the other parts. So people are not together. They're all separated. They're divided since those days. And if we go back to our roots, because we are Iranian humans, Iranos Homo erectus, and then because of that, we know in this kind of situation how should we react. And we should adapt and translate our culture into these new events that are happening in the world or in our society. So my answer to Kambiz would be is happiness is part of being Iranian. Happiness is the root of our culture. Always been faded and distracted for years, for 1400 years. It is part of our root.
Quite an answer.
That's how we lived.
You brought the history into that answer. But you, in a way, are an ambassador of, I mean, you're setting the sort of tone to a certain extent as somebody who's a high-profile host at BBC Persian. Is BBC Persian, is the audience, I would assume a lot of the audience is inside Iran, yes?
Yeah, maximum, 90%.
So how much do you, honestly, in your programming, when you're shooting your, because I know you're very off the cuff, you like to be spontaneous.
Yes.
I mean, how much are you constantly cross-checking in your mind a sensitivity towards, will this go over in Tabriz? Am I allowed to? Is somebody in Mashhad going to be upset? Should I do this or not do this?
Upset. Yeah, from the day one, because I was one of those boys who was sitting in Tehran in his flat and didn't have any answer. I had so many questions, but there was no way to answer me. For instance, what is a dime? When I was reading magazines, the shampoo shouldn't be more than a dime on your palm. What is dime? Every time I make that program, I'm talking to that guy or a girl in a village somewhere. So it's about that. I'm not worried about offending anybody at all, because I create kari kalamatur, the caricature of words and caricature of moments. And through humor, you can always, tell the truth and tell the information.
Where's the line for you? What won't you do?
I have no line.
What won't you do? Not because of BBC, but because of you. What would you not do because you think I think the audience wouldn't like this?
No, actually, I have zero lines. One day before I die, I want to be able to go to the depth of a disaster and make people laugh. That is my dream. So I'm a completely different animal, and I have definitely no limitations. And thanks to BBC back in my radio days, because of their neglect or whatever, they were such a nice people. They let me have no limit in my radio shows. And I remember I had like Red Line, I had Madun Qermez, Beyond Red Line, and everything was in this radio show. But that was short-lived. So I have no limit, and I want to get better and better on that. But make it not offensive. That is a key, and it's quite difficult and delicate. I'm still learning. I'm learning from you today.
What does it mean to be not offensive?
It's something we're learning every day, because the language of people are changing. Language, I mean the way people react to things and are willing to receive. This is that kind of a...
I feel like it's impossible to be not offensive. Because especially in the polarized Iranian community, virtually everything you say or do, somebody's not going to be happy.
Yeah, we offend people, but if you can make it like 10% is good. But as I'm saying, we're learning, and as soon as our country and our people become unified and our culture becomes very close, there's no layers of culture in our society, are very close. All these things are going to be fading out. We're not going to be worried.
You know what helps? The beautiful tones of Romanian hair.
Oh yes, which is
it makes everything
shaking in the hair.
It makes everything better.
And I brought it here to Toronto.
You look like a modern day Brooke Shields.
Yes,
with some facial hair.
Tell you something. When I learned that Michael Jackson, when he died, on his autopsy, I read his autopsy that he had a wig all his life. It made me very comfortable. So Michael Jackson, Andy Warhol.
Yeah, if somebody ever says, oh, do you put color in your hair? I'm like, yeah, so does, Hillary Clinton. So does Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Also, Brad Pitt or whatever.
Also, I heard that some of the kings in the Achaemenian time had also a wig as a Taj, as a
I like
as
how
a
you
crown.
use history.
Yeah,
you
because I'm related to that.
Go.
Yeah, I'm always there because I want to make that modern. Make it modern and cool. And I'm doing it, hopefully.
Let's bring it back to Toronto before I let you go. Tell me...
Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto.
Toronto, I tell you something.
Yeah.
It looked like an ugly city, which has so many beautiful little parts. Because the city doesn't have any... It's not unified. You got the old house and suddenly a skyscraper. Yeah. Because of that, it looks like Iran, Tehran. And that makes it interesting. also to me it seemed a bit depressing, but as I know, it's a city for socializing. It's very much like Iran. It's a city for families and friends.
Who have you discovered in Toronto, other than coming to the Roqe Studio?
Quite a few people.
Who's
thanks
somebody
to
you've
you,
interviewed?
actually.
Okay, go ahead.
On your opening night for your film, speaking to Persians.
Talking to Persians.
Talking to Persians. Yeah. I met so many people and they become friends, and I'm going to see them. So thank you for that. And they are really lovely. They're very friendly, and they're willing to take part in my cause, for instance, or invite me over. I'm like, tonight I'm invited to 3 different places.
Wow.
That never happens in London.
Thank you for, really?
Yeah, so thank
you. Well, that's
you.
because you haven't invited me to anything. I don't get, nobody invites me there.
I can only invite you to my...
The only time I saw you in London, I took you out.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's quite
and
bad,
introduced you to
it?
people, actually, now that I think about it.
But that's what I do to other people. So more than me. You're more of a Behzad than me, I'm a Behzad. So thank you for that.
What have you learned about the different, I mean, one of the things that you do, it's funny, we're doing this travel series, it's a little different, it's in English, etc., but I know you've done a lot of traveling and shooting over the years. What have you learned about how different Persian communities are from country to country or from city to city in the diaspora?
They are very much influenced and changed by the host country, without doubt. Even the way they make the lines in Persian is different. It's very much influenced by the language of the host country.
What does it mean, that make the lines?
Because sometimes they translate to Persian language, but it's originally that original language, like Swedish people, and the accent changes. Like the Iranian Swedish, they're like, "Man unja budam." They have a lot of that.
That sounds like a valley girl.
Yeah. And also the Americans speak different, and the culture is so. It reminds me of Star Trek. That you go to a spaceship and there's so different humanoids from different space, different planets, but they look almost human and they almost look the same proportions. So Iranians are actually quite interesting, and I hope they can bring that rich culture, because what the host country does, hopefully, is take away the rust from our package and baggage from Iranian society, the things we went through. We come there, we release them.
So give me an example of of a difference between the Iranian community in London, UK, which of course you'd be familiar with, and Canada, what you've noticed here in Toronto.
Canada is soon for me. But Iranians in Canada, they are more confident, in my opinion, and they're more part of the Iranian society. Iranians in London, they say, let's go somewhere they're not Iranian. And there are different groups because they escaped Iran in different periods of time. You got economic immigrants, you get political immigrants, you get people who are like the different movements in Iran. They're different and they're stuck together. And they're from 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. They're different. Even have Iranians who do namaz and do roozeh in London, which to me was a surprise, because that's what we escaped from Iran, not to go back. So they're very much together, but also they are allowed to be more of themselves in London, in a way.
Wait, they're very much together? I thought that you
together. No.
You made the opposite
No.
case.
Different groups. Like the lefties are together.
I see.
Shais are together. They're doing community.
But there isn't as much of a. I noticed what you say in London. It's not some big Persian.
No.
In fact, when we did shot the documentary there last year, and they were talking about, North Finchley is the Persian area. You got to go to
It's part of the new Persian area.
I mean, there's 5 or 6 Persian places. It's not. It's nothing like Toronto.
Like it. Toronto is massive. I think it's the second Iranian capital. It's no longer Los Angeles, in my opinion. Los Angeles is a big Iranian community, but Toronto is becoming more of a more Iranians. They're more of Iranian culture. They haven't been diluted so much, and I found it very interesting. I think if I come here, I'll be successful.
Oh yeah, you probably would be. I mean,
well, I'm going to be in maybe next 10 years.
Certainly came to one event of ours and stole all my friends.
So no, I didn't. Honestly,
they won't speak to me anymore. They're busy with you, going out with you.
No, I'm going to always call you and send you a picture. Don't worry.
Why did you say that you think a lot of successful or impressive Iranians come here?
Because of the way the Canadian immigration works.
You mean because it's hard to get?
Hard to get because there's so many forms to fill.
But then why do people come here if it's so difficult?
Because to run away from Iran and go to that Behesht Mo'ud, to go to that paradise. I'm sure when they come here, they get depressed because they realize
it's not paradise.
No, they realize that Iran has a very strong social community. If you get sad, there's so many people to call, and they always come and take care of you. You know, and you don't have it here. In London, it's even worse. It's a city of lonely people. But you have a chance to live alone without anybody bothering you. So that's also a good part. But it takes time to get used to all this kind of a different kind of a lifestyle.
Where is just name one more place where you found an interesting community of Persians? A city in the world that you've been to that you were surprised by
by that. Oh God! So where I'm so many countries coming to my head.
Yeah.
I've been to Turkey. I've been to Spain.
Because I guess
I've been to Italy.
What about the Iranians in Turkey? How are they different?
They're very much.
I would think they're much more connected to Iran. No,
they actually can travel in back and forth, so they're different to us in that case. So they're much part of Iran is there. Rather than they live in a different country.
And Dubai the same, right?
Dubai is the same.
Yeah.
Actually, Iranians in Dubai are good because they're all rich and happy. So I like them as well.
Okay.
So Canada and them are good. And also I was surprised with the Iranians in Spain. They're very small, but they're very interesting people. They're really.
You mean they're not small people?
They're a group of they're 1 meter and they're 4 foot high.
They're tiny people. The tiny Iranians of Spain. Yes.
In there they were interesting because I met some group and they're really good. They taught me a lot about how world works actually.
I'm cognizant of your time. You've got to run around.
Thank
this
you.
city.
You still have to cut it short to 7 minutes because we just talked.
Why do I have to do that?
Because we make it interesting. Otherwise, nobody's going to listen.
You don't
to
think this was interesting?
No, they're going to look at the interview, say 1 hour blood. No way.
Nothing. We're not cutting any of this. It's live.
No,
we barely edit anything.
Don't that to my mom.
And certainly, we want to learn more about your shoulder hair.
Oh I wish I could show it to you.
I think we could already imagine.
Actually, I don't mind.
What if you got some Norwegian, Romanian? Oh my God, you really do have. I mean, you're like a.
I'll tell you something. The reason I'm doing this is
you're at one with nature.
Yeah, look at that. The reason I'm doing that because I went to a nude beach. This is the end of the conversation because people are going to forward to this bit. I went to a nude beach in Cornwall to do a program for the BBC World Service, real one, not us,
In Congo.
In English. No, Cornwall. Cornwall.
Oh, Cornwall.
Cornwall, yes, on the west of
this new
Britain.
beach in Congo, the Democratic Republic.
And when I went there, I had so many problems with my body. For instance, the bone on my shoulder is too big, and then
you hadn't discovered these things before.
No, I did. I
only at the nude beach.
And my toe, I hate my big toe is too rounded, all this thing and the shoulder hair. And when I went there, they said you have to take all your clothes off.
Right.
And I said, oh my God. They said otherwise we can't let you into the interview. I said. And I remember
I see you were interviewing people nude on the beach.
I had to go inside and make a report. In radio, though.
Okay. So even on radio, you had to take off the clothes.
Yeah, and go there because they don't allow people with clothing.
And was there any thought to waxing some of this?
No, I was surprised and shocked.
This coat that you have of...
No, it was all there, even back and everywhere. So I had to take off, and in that 1.5 minutes, I was... All my life was kind of... falling down and I just didn't know how am I going to deal with this. And I was taking my clothes, the kids looking at me, which is # kids looking at your naked body. And funny enough,
how young were this? What kind of a nude beach is this?
No, it's a nude beach for families.
So
that's what's
kids
interesting.
Are looking at you?
Yeah, everybody was looking. Everybody was looking at each other. So this is the point. As I took everything off, and I was so embarrassed. You cannot believe how embarrassed I was. And suddenly everything vanished. All my complex about my body, Roqe, suddenly went in and said, oh my God, this is how it is. And I was worried about erection as well, of course, because there's so many girls there. And as I walked inside, I saw women with one breast. I saw people were damaged. And suddenly something opened up in my mind that sex can be turned on and off. And being nude in a big nude group is the best experience for a modern person. You suddenly realize that clothes talks a lot about who you are, your state in society, how much you know. Even the clothes talk so much.
You are naked.
I was totally naked.
You're not just
that's why
literally naked, but
totally.
Your status is naked.
Even no slippers.
But
the reason I'm saying that everybody I talked to, I didn't know where they're from. I couldn't guess their rank in society, and that felt amazing.
But it made you feel okay about yourself.
After that,
no shame anymore.
No shame, because I saw women with one breast. I saw people who were like scars.
So you're okay about the bone in your shoulder?
No, I'm after that.
And the toe.
I'm my big toe, but to myself. And there's no way. Still, the lights are off. If somebody comes to my room, lights are off, and I'm wearing a hat. Yes. You don't allow. Gradually, it takes a few weeks for me to get.
Few weeks.
Right.
So if you bring somebody home, are you currently single?
I'm currently single.
And if you bring somebody home...
And I'm happy to meet people.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you're already doing that.
And I'm meeting your friends.
Yes, yeah. They don't speak to me anymore.
After that night.
So they do speak to me, but they're busy with you. So you go...
So this is the conclusion.
If you bring someone home...
Yeah.
Even after you've been to the new beach in Cornwall and feel better about yourself...
It takes time.
You still don't want them to see you.
And I love that shyness. I think it makes me more beautiful.
Have you...
And that was the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
Mizun bashi. Thank you so much for the interview.
You've decided. What about some of these rings and the gear that you wear? Do you keep that stuff on when you're naked, or do you sleep with all these? I mean,
I sleep with some of them. Yes.
Yeah.
I sleep with this one.
Beads,
the bangle.
And the bangles.
Bangle is from Achaemenian time, so it's my battery.
What about this Iron Man thing on your hands?
These are like Separabala. These are my like the
superpowers.
American. What's that guy? Marvel. American.
Iron Man.
Captain America.
Captain America. Okay.
Shield. These are my shields. And everything else is.
Are you allowed to wear those? Do you wear them to bed to shield yourself, or no?
Yes.
You do.
No condom, just these shields. And this is Iran's earth. Somebody gave it as a present to me. And these are all different things. But these are, each jewelry, I change them every day, and sometimes I don't wear them. Is about what I need to be Behzad on that day.
Were you always this way? Or is this a newer thing?
Yes, I was always this way.
With the Romanian hair extensions and everything?
No. This is recent. I discovered it 2 years ago.
I know the particular hair extensions, but I mean the idea of I'm going to...
Looking good. Because Iranian men are pretentious and they have to look good, so I always was. I learned it from
You've always had a particular style, for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's you did fashion design.
Yes, I did fashion design when I was in my 20s. I was very successful. I did designs for some of the singers and stuff, but then I suddenly stopped it because I thought I'm becoming too successful. I was stupid. At the age of 25, I closed the shop and went to this Dunyai Ma'navi world, so I started reading books. But at the very early age, our mom was very peculiar about how we looked, so that stayed with me till today.
You have very fitted clothing.
Yes,
I noticed. It
makes you look better. It makes you
should we wear fitted clothing? Yes.
Yes.
I mean, your pants are very. I don't
very
even know
tight,
how.
Very tight.
They are tight.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's hard
we're not being joking here.
Yeah.
I was saying to you earlier when you came into the studio, I said I'm not. I mean, I feel like, like when I was a kid, there were these like Jordache jeans that girls would wear that they would have to wriggle around on the bed to take them on and off.
Exactly.
Because they were so tight.
Yeah.
That's what. So you have to. I mean,
it takes
getting
time.
home at night is quite a mukafat for you.
Yeah,
you
it's warm and moist. And also,
what do you mean by that?
Yeah, and when I was sitting,
no, I'm talking about how you have to take the clothing off.
It takes time.
Yes, yeah. How do you even take those pants off?
Well, you have to wear oil. No, I'm joking. But it just takes time, especially at the bottom.
You have to wrestle with them.
Wrestle with them.
I mean, a man gets to a point in his life where he wants to wear more comfortable clothing. No.
That is when
you're a slave to fashion.
Yeah. That's when you're bazneshasте.
Yes.
Redundant or something.
Retired. Yes.
So I'm still have another good 10 years, I hope. When I'm 85.
And then flares.
And then flares, and then I'm going to look like
pants.
you. No, I'm joking. No, I'm going to be comfortable. I'm joking. You're looking
There's
good.
nobody left. Everybody's gone.
Yeah. And I have an appointment with one of your friends, by the way.
I know.
To have a dinner.
I know.
You don't mind, do you?
Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead. I hope موفق باشین.
موفقم.
Hey,
thank you.
It's been such a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in the studio.
Yeah. I appreciate giving me the chance and speak English. which will be another year for me to speak English.
Your English, actually, I sense your English has gotten a lot better as well.
Yeah,
from last year. You were saying my Persian has gotten better.
No,
you just did an interview with me for BBC Persian.
That's right.
And you thought my Persian has gotten better.
It was much better, and I thought you might have a Iranian girlfriend, so that's why.
Even though you barely let me speak.
Yes.
It was the interview with me, but you were mostly speaking.
No, because it's about the moments to say a word is enough.
As long as I can say a word. I think I said about 6 words.
Yeah, 6 words.
And one of them was in English, so I think that's the interview.
With long pauses.
Behzad Bolour, you are the
sexy beast.
You are a singular person. There's no other Behzad Bolour in the world.
Thank you.
It's a joy to see you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah,
thanks for coming in.
I hope you cut this interview to 7 minutes. Thank you so much. ما چاکریم.
چاکری.
حال کردم. بزن قدش. Give me high five. بزن قدش.
بزن قدش.
Thank you.
خداحافظ.
خداحافظ.
The award-winning artist, fashion designer, humanitarian radio personality, TV presenter, senior producer, Behzad Bolour. Behzad has been with me here in the Roqe Studio. Behzad has left the studio, and we're just doing a changing of the guard here as Shadi Majlessy comes in. Roham, can you just play the theme again for a second? Just play that. Yeah, Shaya's not here. Go ahead. Right, here we go. My next guest is capturing attention for capturing images of Persian culture, figures, and history that she creates and showcases on her cakes. That's right, tasteful and tasty. Shadi Majlessy is an Iranian-Canadian self-taught baker, cake decorator, and stylist. She first started her career as a hobby in Sydney, Australia. Shadi now lives in Toronto. Her interest is mixing ancient Persian-style art with modern Western cake designs, and she has a growing fan base and clientele. And right now, Shadi Majlessy is joining me in the Roqe Studio. Hello.
Hi, Jian.
Very nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
It's Pavlovian, I think. I see you, I say your name, and I get hungry. I want I want cake. I've been looking at your you want you to be synonymous with people being
craving,
desiring shidini. Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, I know you're a very I'm guessing you're a very private person because you don't have much of a footprint in social media.
Yeah, I think it's part of my personality and my brand as well, to be private, and it's all about cakes and arts, so I don't need to really show up,
but you don't think you need a company name that that you can get?
Because it just started like that. I didn't change it, because at first it was like this, like Shadi, and then I added Toronto because it was in Instagram, so people could find me easier.
And then you added cake.
No, it was like Shadi Cakes.
And that was Shadi Cake Toronto.
Cake. Yeah.
You say making a cake is a way to show your feelings and point of view.
Exactly.
I mean, it's quite interesting to me. It's reminiscent of what someone would say about a song they write or a canvas that they paint. So it suggests you see your work, baking, cake making, as art.
Mm-hmm. As a little girl, you could always find me painting, making crafts, playing with the spices. And well, I grew up in a family surrounded by highly educated people, and whenever I was doing something like this, they said, that's nice, but not enough as a job. So you had to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Yes.
So I had this feeling in my life. So I had to do something for that, and I had to feed my soul. So I got my degree as a psychologist, but it was not enough for me. And then I got married. We moved to Sydney, Australia, and I had Daniel. He was 3 months old. I wanted to be with him, especially for his first 3 years of his life. And we were baking and painting together. And I was using those, my painting skills to paint on the cake, which was quite new that time. And my friends were amazed by that, and they asked me if I can make for them as well. So that moment, I just saw it as a business opportunity, and just started
well, hang
like
on,
that.
2 steps back. So you were born in Tehran in the early 80s. And as you see, you end up doing a degree in psychology at Azadi University. Was your family, was your household a particularly food-interested household? Was there a lot of baking going on? I mean, where does that come from?
Not at all. I can say not at all. My father was craving sugar after like every single meal, but like even like sugar cube was enough for him. No, it was nothing like that.
Your mom has a PhD in nutrition.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily translate into, in fact, that's the opposite of making cakes.
Yeah.
You know what? Can I bring up something with you that I've often had this debate in my family, because growing up, I was always somebody, or I've still remained somebody who loves cooking on top of the stove, on the stove, you know, like khoresh or something like that. Whereas my sister was always somebody who was good at baking. And I always made the argument that the stuff that you do on top of the oven rather than in the oven can be a lot more creative. Like baking always felt like a math equation to me. Okay, you put this much dough and you put this much sugar and then you make a cookie. Can baking be creative? Am I being too harsh on it? Or does it, I mean, if you wanted to be creative in cooking, wouldn't it be more creative to make omelets rather than cakes?
Well, I can say it's more easier to be creative at cooking, but because as you said, baking is so you should be so.
There's rules.
Yeah,
it feels like there's rules.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't do that,
the cake doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas there's no rules to a soup.
Exactly.
You put whatever you want in there, right?
Yeah, but you can be creative. I think so. Yeah.
Well, how
like
do
I
you...
tried because in Australia the style was totally different. Like people love to have the very simple, nude, neutral cakes and
neutral cakes.
Yeah,
what does
like
that mean?
I mean about the design and they didn't want so much cream or fruits in the cake. They didn't like it, and here it was totally different. So I had to come up with something that, especially Persian likes it. So I made Persian love cake, which has cardamom and then apricot, pistachio with a little bit rose water, and that one became my signature.
When does someone eat this Persian love cake? Is there an occasion where is it on a date, or can you just eat it any time?
That's the thing. You can have it. You can respect yourself and order one cake for yourself.
The love is in the cooking.
Yeah.
I see. I know you love sculpture and painting. You've talked about that. Was it your intent to be an artist?
Yeah. When I was a kid, I was keep doing these stuff, and I've never had a chance to present myself as an artist, and I never wanted to copy anyone. It was quite easy for me to do that, but I never want. I can say one of my biggest fear is to be like someone else. So I try not to copy anyone. And when I came here, people were sending me designs that I could say I can do better. So it took me about 2 years to come up with my own style and my design. When I first draw Gajar face on the cake, I was so happy with the results. Even though it was like unusual and different, but I was happy. and I received so many bad and good comments, but it was enough for me.
Well, okay, let me get to the gajar face, but first tell me about the cake with the 2 bunnies for Easter.
Yeah, it was the first cake in Sydney.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were in Sydney.
Yeah.
And you until then you're baking cakes, but you're not necessarily doing your art on them.
Yeah.
So what was the design that where you went, Eureka, I can fuse my art and my cake making? Tell us about the 2 bunnies.
I think it was for Easter, so I had my Daniel and so many other moms around me, so it had to be something childish. So it was, I just draw 2 bunnies on the cake, and it took me 24 hours because the fondant, the paste that I was covering the cake, and I had to draw something on it, it wouldn't get dry, so I had to wait and then put some extra color on it, so it was quite hard.
These are very detailed bunnies.
Yeah.
It's not just a bunny outline.
No. No.
So, and then friends of yours in Australia start to go, wow, can you make me a cake like that?
Exactly.
And at this point, you had no idea necessarily that this is going to turn into a business.
No.
Until before you come to Canada, it's just sort of for when you do come to Canada, you sold your first cake within 3 months of moving here.
In 2 months, yeah.
Yeah. So then you're starting to think this can be a business. Tell me about this. That the moment where you decide to put the gajar face on, because that's now what you've become known for. But it's only 3 or 4 years ago that you started doing this. So
exactly.
What made you think I'll put a Persian historic design face that I create on a cake?
With that background and with my Persian roots, I had to do something, and I simply decided to be myself. That helped me a lot because, as I said, I didn't want to copy other people, and I thought people likes Marilyn Monroe or Frida on the cake, so this should be work as well. And it worked. And with every single, because I'm self-taught, so I've never attended any class. So with every single new client, I was so lucky that they just trusted me and they gave me the chance to come up with something unique and new. And
you said at first some people didn't like the idea of the gajar face. Why? What would they say?
Probably because it was unusual. Like, why, when it's your birthday, why gajar's face? Why?
Right.
Right.
Well, it's actually a good question. Why? Yeah. But what's interesting to me is that I know you were one of the first people to do this, to be doing this. I feel like I see a fair amount of this now, cakes or sweets of some kind or another that have these Persian images on them.
Yeah.
So is that true? Do you think it's become a trend, and were you at the forefront of that?
Exactly. Yeah, because people were sending me cakes that people are copying me, and I was happy because I thought, well, that's nice that so people like it, that they're copying it. So, but now it's a good level for me that I can move on and come up with something new. Now I'm done with those designs. Yeah.
That's why we were interviewing you. So there's no point anymore if you.
No, it's a new.
You had something controversial. It's something about you drew naked ladies on clouds. People didn't want that on a cake.
No. I lost so many followers.
Really?
Honestly.
That. I mean, I'm being funny, but that really, you did actually
and
lose?
I was happy. And I said, I have to do it more because I don't want those people which are so like close for something like this. This is just cake. And
right. Was that an order? Did somebody want the naked ladies on it?
Yeah, it was a birthday, I think I don't remember.
And they were ordering and said, I want my
They wanted something unique. And it was for a guy.
Yeah, wow.
So, I thought something funny and interesting. And they had so much fun for cutting the cake.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the controversy was just because you put a picture of that on the Instagram?
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah.
That would become a big deal. I mean, it seems like a sort of a no-brainer. When you're doing something this artistic, I mean, part of me thinks your passion has been painting and sculpting. Why bother with the cake part? Why not just paint? Do your drawings, etc., or your paintings. But since you do the cake part, and since it's become such a big part of your brand that even if you don't promote it as much as I think you could, how does it matter how good the cake is? In other words, if people are buying this because they love the design, I almost feel like that's the gold. It doesn't, if the cake is all right, but from what I hear, because you didn't bring us a cake, I thought, maybe we'd be sampling it as, everybody's shaking their heads. From what I hear, your cakes are also really delicious. So how important is that to you? How important is that to your clients, that the cake also be super tasty or well made?
Well, people think that beauty and taste can't come together, but I'm very sensitive about the taste as well, and I try my best to do something good but still unique. So some people are open to that and some they're not. So yeah, but I try to do my best.
What's an example of unique?
Sometimes I tried so many different flavors, and I added pepper to the base, to the cake base, and then the filling was chili with orange peel and a little bit what do you call Zerish? Barberry?
Yes.
Yeah, barberry, and it was so unique. And then people were, why you're doing this? Why you don't make like banana, walnut, and pineapple, which is so traditional.
How does the chili and pepper go with the cake? Does it work?
I liked it.
Yeah,
That's
I've tried. There's some chocolate you can get that has chili.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So
I got that idea from there. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. And these cakes, I mean, your artwork, in as much as it's the cake, necessarily becomes ephemeral, becomes short-lived. It's it's like creating something out of ice, or so. It's not going to last, which is kind of heartbreaking. And I'm not sure that I could handle the ego of that. If I write a song or draw something that I like, I don't want it to disappear. How do you contend with the idea that you're creating art for people to destroy by eating it?
But I think it's even more effective because you see and feel at the same time, and you can have it. And eating something, it's another experience that's
they're
literally
you can
mix it.
Devouring your art.
Exactly.
But the problem, but I mean, if you draw something that you really love, this is my favorite painting of a Qajar woman that and Abdullah, the guy who's bought your cake, is going to eat it. I mean, it just seems like a shame to me. It should be on a wall or something, right?
Some of my clients, because I have those cookies as well, and like those cake toppers, they saved it for, and a few of my clients just frame the cookies.
Yeah.
And they send me the photo.
How does that go after a few years? Did they turn green or?
No, not really. Yeah, maybe because of the weather.
Yeah, or the Swiss meringue keeps it somehow.
No, that one doesn't have any Swiss meringue. It's just a cookie with the painting on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, I've been to I guess I went to a wedding or something where they gave cookies with that image on it. And I didn't want to, so I kept it for a while, and then I thought, well, what am I keeping this for? But I just think as the artist, it must be so hard for you sometimes to. It's a lesson in being able to give away your art. Really, basically, you're saying take it and I don't have a recording of it. I don't have a version of it. I'm giving it for other than a photo maybe that you can take. What a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on all the attention you're getting for your beautiful cakes. And I can't wait to devour your artwork.
Thanks for having me, and it was really nice talking to you.
Thanks so much, Shadija.
Thank you, Jian.
That's Shadi Majlessy here in the Roqe Studio. You can find her on Instagram at Shadi_Toronto_cake. That is full time for Roqe for today. Next week on the program, Mona Vand will join us, and Shaqaiq Nosrati, also in the coming days on Roqe, Majid Kazemi will be joining us as well. Remember our website for all things Roqe related, roqemedia.com. roqemedia.com. Thanks to the amazing team who put this show together. Savvy Roham, talented Anahita, Super Parisa, Smart Pega, Rai Mehdad, and Groovy Shaya. Thank you to all of you out there for supporting us and sharing our content. Please subscribe on any or all of our platforms if you've not done so already. You can find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. And in the meantime, as ever, Mizun Bashin.